How about them Cowboys? Yeah, yeah. Cowboys went 8-8 last season. To be honest, I've just gotta start getting these videos out because tomorrow is game day and that is hype. But the issue is I still have 6 teams left to do the predictions for, so I'm gonna try to speed through these videos really fast. So sorry if you're a Cowboys, Eagles, who else? And then everybody in the AFC East, Bills, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins fan. Yeah, sorry, but the Bills, I know a ton about the Bills because the Bills are my favorite team, so shouldn't be a big issue with them. But I'm gonna try to speed through these because it takes a really long time to do these videos the way I normally do. So what I'm just gonna do instead is probably look at how I'm just gonna look through the roster, say what I think about them, and then go through the opponents for who these teams play. And I'll basically talk about the rosters still, but I'm not going to go into specifics from last season and additions in the off season. I mean, if somebody's new on a team, I'll obviously mention them and talk about them because I'm going to be talking about the whole team, but that it won't come in that form that it's been coming in for the rest of these videos where they've been longer. But I've been talking for a while already, so maybe that'll extend this video a little bit. Okay, first off, got to start with QB. We got Dak Prescott. And actually, we got Andy Dalton behind him, which means that the Cowboys have a reliable backup if Dak goes down for any reason, which is a good thing. You want that? But Dak Prescott, very strange, puts up insane numbers and really has some good games, and then other times where it's just it's tough to even move the ball, but he'll find ways to get yardage so that his stats look pretty good. Against my Bills last year, they struggled to move the ball against the Bills last season, and there were other times in the season where I was like, they're struggling to move the ball against teams that they should not be struggling to move the ball against. But then by the end of the game, he'd be down and he'd be picking up some chunk plays every once in a while. So you'd get a drive where it was basically it was a first down, second down. We ran the ball twice, or maybe a run and then an incomplete pass. Then on third down, we get a 30-yard gain to make the drive look a lot better, but then we go 3 more plays and we punt. So those kind of plays really helped Prescott's stats, I think, because his numbers are insanely high for how he really plays. He's not, and that's not to say that he's a bad quarterback. I think he actually is a very good quarterback. It's just he's not at that elite level that his stats make him seem like. Because there's still points where he's struggling against teams he shouldn't be. And I think we're looking at a year where they'll probably improve a lot, especially with the talent on this offense. Then we got the running backs, Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is huge. I wasn't sure if they lost him in the offseason or not because I thought his contract was up for some reason, but he's still on the roster as of now, at least showing on ESPN's website. He's still on the roster, and Ezekiel Elliott is too, which means they have 2 solid running backs that they can trust. And obviously Ezekiel Elliott, great player. I think last year wasn't as great for him as it's been in the past, but I think you're looking at a guy that's definitely a reliable running back with plenty of talent. And I think if he just would get his hair cut, he'd drop that little hair weight, and that would make him just that much faster. Because I like it. I don't mind the facial hair, but the grown out long hair, I just don't think it looks good. Yeah, but then we got Amari Cooper. Wow, Amari Cooper is lightning fast. I did start this video by going through watching some clips for them for the last season, and I was like, I do not have the time to do the rest of these teams this way, so I can't do it. Cooper's very fast. It's insane what he's an elite level receiver, but I think players have traits. Different receivers play differently, and I think one of the things that makes Cooper so good is just his pure speed. He's good in all other areas at playing the receiver position, but I really don't think about as fast as he is a lot, and he really is fast. He's outrunning a lot of guys a lot of the time. Michael Gallup, also a really impressive receiver. He has great concentration when the ball's in the air, catch it off the tip, go up for it, and he's pretty good. And then they just added CeeDee Lamb, new wide receiver wearing number 88 in Dallas. Looks good. I love it. But yeah, he was my favorite receiver in the draft. Oklahoma, his running after the catch was absolutely insane. And actually, it was great. His tackle breaking ability and just everything. Cooper's really good in the open field just because he's able to run by guys. CeeDee could run by guys, but CeeDee also will break a ton of tackles and make defenders look silly in a variety of ways, which is tremendous. Then they've got Blake Jarwin at tight end. This is probably the position on offense that we're the most iffy about. That's kind of weird because we've been rocking with Jason Witten forever now, minus his year off he had, and he's on the Raiders now, so he's not there. But Jarwin's showed some good potential, and he's been on the team for a little while now. I'm not sure how far into his career he is, but he's been there a while, and I think he's actually a trustworthy. You can trust him to at least play, to be a league average tight end. I don't think he's below average. I really don't think they're hurting at the position when it comes to the starters. But then you've got a guy on the second team named Blake Bell, Dalton Schultz, Sean McKeon as the second, third, and fourth options at tight ends. I think those are a little more iffy, but the number one guy, I think you can trust him for now. And then you look at the offensive line, Tyron Smith, Connor Williams, Joe Looney, Zach Martin, Cameron Irving are the starters. I think this line definitely is not as great as it once was with the insane talent they had up front, but this has still got to be one of the top offensive lines in the league. And I think this team should be hovering around the 28 to 30 points per game range realistically, because this offense is insane. They averaged like 27, a little over 27 last season, and I think they should get it up from somewhere to 28 to 30. I think this offense really has the talent to do it, and I think they're capable of doing it. So I hope they do it. I'm expecting them to do it. I'm saying I'm hoping because I'm actually going to predict them to have a fairly decent record. I think with how it's going to come out, I'll probably have them be at the top of the NFC East, but I still have to do the Eagles next, so I can't be for sure on that. Now let's talk about the defense. Wow, D-line, really, really good. DeMarcus Lawrence on one side, I'm pretty sure they just recently, within the past year, locked him up on a fairly long-term deal. I could be misremembering that, but I think he's at least around for now, and I think he is for a while, but I can't be sure. And then Dontari Poe is now in the middle with Tyrone Crawford on the other end, and behind Tyrone Crawford is actually Everson Griffin, and the second defensive tackle, sorry, I skipped over him, is Tristan Hill, who I'm not really familiar with, but DeMarcus Lawrence, Dontari Poe, Tyrone Crawford, and then Everson Griffin being listed as a backup as of now, and even the other D tackles that I didn't mention that are on the second team, Antoine Woods and Neville Gallimore, are both guys that I've heard things about that have either heard or seen good things about from them. And I think this D-line is probably very underrated for how much talent they have on it. Then you look at the linebackers, too. You've got Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch playing at starting positions. Both these guys are amazing linebackers, with extra guy, last linebacker, being Aldon Smith. Aldon Smith is probably the weakest link in that group, but if you think about where he was at one point in his career, if you can get half to three-quarters of that player, you're looking at a very good defensive front for this team. Just stinks. I'm seeing that Sean Lee is on IR already, and it seems like he gets injured all the time, but I don't even know how he got hurt or when his injury occurred, but that just sucks for this team because he's still playing at a high level, even though I'm pretty sure he's pretty deep in his career now based off what I saw from last season. So, I mean, this defensive front is looking pretty good. Then you get to the secondary, and I think the secondary is really where you're like, Yeah, it's kind of a big drop off. So I'll talk about the safeties first. Darian Thompson and Xavier Woods, both like names I've heard but don't know a ton about. Like, you kind of want to know a little bit about players. When you hear their name, not just know their name, but I'm pretty sure Thompson actually was playing pretty well recently. Xavier Woods, on the other hand, I have no clue about. So neither of them are like household names, so you're kind of worried about that. But then also at corner, you have Anthony Brown on one side and Trevon Diggs as the two starting corners, and then you got Chidobe Awuzie, Daryl Worley behind them with two guys that are out right now, being Jordan Lewis and Maurice Kennedy. Jordan Lewis could be higher on the depth chart if he was playing, so I'm not sure where he would normally be listed if he's usually the second team corner. But Anthony Brown and Trevon Diggs, both guys that I've actually heard about and think they're decent players, so that's much better than the safety room. But still, none of these guys in the secondary are really standouts like you want to see. Just like you don't really have anybody that's gonna lock down for you like it usually would be. I mean, Byron Jones just left. That's tough. So if there's gonna be a place this team struggles on the defensive side of the ball, I think it's going to be covering receivers, tight ends, whoever's getting up the field, and the safeties and cornerbacks are going to be in coverage against them because I don't think they're very strong in that area. Next up, let's talk about their special teams really quick. Their punter is Chris Jones, and their place kicker, Greg Zerlin. I think it's very strange that they went away from Brett Maher, who just showed so much last season. He had two different times where his time was expiring. He had 60-plus yard field goals to take them into half. I mean, you just show potential like that. I can't believe you move on. But, I mean, when somebody like Greg the Leg gets on the market, I guess you want him. But I just can't believe they gave up on him, Maher, honestly, with that ability. That's insane to me. It just doesn't make any sense. But now they got Greg the Leg, and I can't really call it a downgrade because Greg Zerlin has proven over the years that he's a pretty quality kicker, whereas Brett Maher was just last season. So I guess that makes sense. And then Chris Jones was the punter. I think he's been their punter for a while. I don't think he's not really thought of as one of the best in the league, but I'd say he's above average enough because he's stuck around there so long. They trust him. So now we'll move on to who they play this season. So we got their divisional opponents, Philadelphia, New York, and Washington. I think for these divisional games, you got two really bad teams in this division. New York and Washington, I don't think are going to be good. I already talked about them in their own videos at an extent, so I can just say that I think the Cowboys will beat them in the 4 games that they play those two opponents. I think they'll win every single one. I think they'll go 4-0. Philadelphia is kind of a harder one. Philadelphia the past few seasons has been a team that has been just overcome with injuries. And but they can still perform well even if their roster gets fairly injured because of their depth they have. Now, with that, from what I've been seeing in training camp, I think that Philadelphia has already gotten a decent number of players fairly hurt, which is not a good thing, but for the Cowboys, it does give them a better chance. And with their chances being better, I like the Cowboys, at least in the first matchup, a lot more because it's more likely that a lot of guys will be missing for the Eagles. And even in the second matchup, I think the Cowboys are a little bit better of a team. So I really want to give the Cowboys the nod to take all the games in their division this season, which is probably it's something that I don't think I've done for a lot of teams, but just with New York and Washington being such cupcakes, along with kind of some question marks with Philadelphia, I really do want to give the Cowboys a 6-0 record in the division. So yeah, Then we got to talk about the teams they play at home. They play the San Francisco 49ers, the Arizona Cardinals, the Atlanta Falcons, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Cleveland Browns at home. Now, I'm really liking the Cowboys to be really a top team in the league this year, so I got to figure out where I think these guys are going to be and who I think they could potentially drop to, because I don't think they're going to drop a ton of games as they're already at 6-0. But I definitely see San Francisco could be a game they lose. San Francisco could really, if San Francisco is able to run the ball and then break play action off of it, you're going to have linebackers sucking up. And if they're sucking up, then you're completely trusting the defensive back group for the Cowboys, which I do not trust. And I think the Niners will be able to get some big plays on play action versus the Cowboys. So I think that hurts them. And I think the Niners defense also has enough power on that side of the ball to stop the Cowboys. So with that said, I think they'll drop the game to the Niners. But as for the other teams at home, Arizona, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland, I think we can definitely give them the win over Atlanta. I think they're a lot better than Atlanta. I think Arizona, too, you're probably thinking most likely they're going to win that. Pittsburgh and Cleveland, too. I'm really liking them in all those games, but I'm favoring them. I'd have to say that I'll give them the loss to San Francisco, give them wins against Atlanta and probably Cleveland. I think both those teams are at home going to be winnable games for the Cowboys. So 2-1 so far, but I think Arizona and Pittsburgh are kind of closer than you may think. I would say that if I was picking each of those games individually, I would give the Cowboys both of them, but I think they're going to drop one of them, and that'll make the home opponents that are not divisional. I think they'll go 3-2 at home in the non-divisional home games, which will sit them at a 9-2 record, talking about their away games outside of the division. So outside of the division on the road, they're going to have to go to Seattle, the Los Angeles to play the Rams, go to Minnesota, go to Baltimore, and go to Cincinnati. I'm thinking Cincinnati's probably the only team on that list that I can just go for sure is a win. But the rest of these teams, I'm wanting. See, they got Los Angeles actually is their week 1 matchup, so that one, that could be tough. I don't really like any of these matchups. Like extremely in the advantage of the Cowboys, and I'm probably picking Baltimore to beat them. So just based off that, I would say that I'll say that if they're going to Baltimore, I think Baltimore's got a heck of a team. I mean, just based off last year, they're really tough to beat. If you get a good game plan, you could potentially beat them. I mean, the Titans did it last year. But you gotta get the ball down the field. And actually, the Cowboys could put up enough points early if the Ravens started trailing. That's one way the Cowboys could beat them. But these are all road games, so that makes it a lot more difficult on them. I think realistically, for Seattle, Los Angeles, Minnesota, and Baltimore, how I see this going is probably a 2-2 split for the Cowboys. So a 2-2 record for them in those games. But I will definitely give them the nod against Cincinnati. So that means in the games against the non-divisional opponents on the road, I'll still give them a winning record at 3-2, which is good, considering they were second in the division last year. And actually, the Eagles should have a little bit of a tougher schedule, which gives them an even more of an advantage because the Eagles won the division last year. The Cowboys should be playing slightly worse opponents. So that gives us a record of 12-4 for the Cowboys. I could see them dropping maybe one more game than that, just because they actually do have a fairly difficult schedule. I'm just really relying on the fact that I think the Cowboys are going to be a much more almost united team this season, because they added weapons on. I mean, adding CeeDee Lamb on offense just makes that I feel that he is such a crazy talented wide receiver, and that offense already had so much firepower that if you get the offense from last year clicking on the same page, that'll be unbelievably hard to stop. Adding him, especially if they get it going, and then add him to that, that should make it even better and harder for the Cowboys to be stopped. But then again, the secondary is kind of the area of issue I see on this team. So if that starts to get exploited heavily, that could hurt them. But I think 12-4 is where I'll set my record, and I don't think it'll be better than that though. I think if this record falls anyway, it'll fall to less than a 12-4 record, but I think 12-4 is where I like them. I really like the talent on this team, and I really like the idea of finally getting a new head coach in there after so long, bringing the team together, get them headed in the right direction, and them being a solid team, which I know a lot of people are sick of America's team, but sorry, I think they're going to be fairly good next season. 12-4 for the Cowboys.
So, if you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching.
2020 president candidate.